which students slept through or sneaked out of. Surely she could spy on the indoctrination session, locate Lee Grant, and pull him aside as everyone was leaving. She hoped. She'd been making plans all day long. What she hadn't counted on was how much the shadows spooked her. Not just the shadows in the trees, but the shadows that stretched across the long, long lawn between the woods and Hendrick's School for Boys. If she was going to find Lee Grant, she'd have to run across those shadows, out in the open, out where someone might see. It had been one thing to walk across the Harlow School lawn to the woods, with Sally and Bonner on either side of her, giggling nervously all the way. She knew now that they had not actually expected to face real danger, only some pale imitation of it, nothing that couldn't be waved away with an ID card. Nina knew she had been frightened too, walking out in the open with Aaliyah after they were questioned by the two policemen on the bridge. But Aaliyah had rescued her so magically from the policeman that Nina knew she had a false sense of confidence. No matter what happened, Aaliyah or Percy or Matthias could save her. But the other three weren't going into Hendrick's School with her now. She was completely alone. Now I know why Gran believed in God, Nina thought. God, can you help me too? Nina inched forward to the edge of the woods, then threw herself into a desperate run across the lawn. She reached the side of the building more quickly than she'd expected. She realized she kept her eyes squeezed shut for most of her run. She was lucky she hadn't smashed into the building. She turned around and looked back and couldn't believe she'd come all that distance, through all those shadows. She took a deep breath and clutched her fingers onto one of the bricks in the wall of the school, as if that could hold her steady. A door, she whispered to herself. I need to find a door. Sliding the palms of her hands along the wall, she moved forward, looking ahead. By the time she reached the corner, her fingertips felt ragged from the rough bricks. She didn't seem to be thinking very well. Had she missed noticing a door? Or was there one entire side of the school without any entrance at all? Rather than turning around, she turned the corner, and there was solid metal, with a metal knob sticking out. A door and a doorknob, just what she'd been looking for. Without giving herself time to lose her nerve, she grabbed the knob, turned, and pulled. A dark hallway gaped before her. She stepped into the school. The door slid shut behind her. If Nina's heart had been pounding before, it was beating away at triple time now. Every nerve ending in her body seemed to be screaming, alert, alert, danger, danger, turn around and go back to safety. Nina was surprised her brain could still override the warning, could still make her feet slide forward. She stumbled, but didn't fall, and kept moving. The dark hall ended in a T with another dark hall. Nina turned right at first, hesitated, then turned around. Over the pounding in her ears, she could hear shrieks and screams coming from the opposite direction. Somewhere down that hall, boys were laughing and yelling at the top of their lungs. It didn't sound at all like the indoctrination lectures Nina was familiar with, some dry, dusty old teacher droning on uselessly at the front of the room. This sounded like fun. Nina crept back toward the noise, picking up speed when she realized there was no way anyone could hear her footsteps over all that commotion. Finally, she reached a lit doorway that was obviously the source of all the noise. She peeked cautiously around the corner, sticking her head out just far enough to see past the door frame. It was a huge room, like the dining area back at Harlow School for Girls. Nina saw tables and chairs stacked against the wall. This probably was the dining room for the boys' school, but it had been converted tonight, with boys running around chasing dozens of rubber balls across the floor.